This is CBC Vancouver News.
In time of need, the United States was there for us, and now in their time of need, we're going to be there for California wildfire.
BC fire crews arrive in California to help fight the raging wildfires as the flames there worsen. Plus,
it's a mass massacre of animals. It'd be heartbreaking to see this happen.
The first case of avian flu among ostriches in Canada has been detected at a farm in BC's Kootenay region. Now the bird's owner is pleading with officials to spare her herd. Also,
read the fine print and make sure that you're prepared for it.
A caveat in the province's Clean BC program has left one homeowner frustrated and having to pay a hefty bill. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Police in Surrey are crediting a Good Samaritan for pulling 3 people from a fiery crash early this morning. Police say around 2 a.m. they received calls about a car that had struck a pole and was on fire underneath the Portman Bridge. They say a Good Samaritan pulled 3 passengers from the burning vehicle, including 2 adults and 1 child. The adults were taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries, while police say the child was examined by paramedics and is now with family. The crash shut down Highway 17 underneath the bridge for several hours today. It has since reopened. There is no word yet on who the Good Samaritan was. At least 11 lives lost, thousands of buildings destroyed, and the fight against the raging wildfires in Los Angeles is far from over. Evacuation orders have grown as officials warn weather conditions could fan the flames well into next week. CBC's Chris Reyes shows us what's happening on the ground.
This is the round-the-clock work happening all over Los Angeles to contain devastating wildfires that continue to burn and spread. And there is no light at the end of the tunnel yet.
Elevated to critical fire weather conditions are predicted to continue through Wednesday. Winds combined with dry air and dry vegetation will keep the fire threat in Los Angeles County high.
6 different wildfires are still active in LA County. So far, more than 14,000 hectares have burned. The biggest one in the Pacific Palisades expanded overnight, prompting more evacuation orders. Another fire devastated the community of Altadena, displacing many of its residents.
Some homes have been passed down through generation and generation, and it's heartbreaking to see the challenges our community is facing at this time.
As fire crews battle the blaze, officials are warning of those who are taking advantage of the situation.
We've seen businesses and landlords that use increased demand during emergencies to jack up the price of essential supplies and services. It's called price gouging. And during a state of emergency like there is currently in effect in Ventura County and Los Angeles County, it is illegal.
California's leadership, from the governor to LA's mayor to the city's fire department, has been facing intense scrutiny over its handling of the fires, including questions over water supply and resource management.
Now, we need to stay focused, but I will say that when the fires are out, make no mistake, we will have a full accounting of what worked and especially what did not. And I know that this is a top priority of the people that are here behind me and the firefighters and the first responders that are on the front line.
Anger over who's to blame, burning side by side a raging wildfire. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Meanwhile, BC's Forest Minister posted an update to X today confirming senior members of the BC Wildfire Service have left for California and were expected to arrive late this afternoon.
I hope you'll join me in thanking these incredible British Columbians, highly trained individuals that are going to be on the front line supporting our neighbors, because when in time of need, the United States was there for us, and now in their time of need, we're going to be there for California wildfire.
Earlier this week, he said the BC team would help with logistics, planning, operations, aviation, and more. Premier David Eby says the province is also working to send ground crews to support firefighting efforts. Canadian crews from Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta are also there helping tackle the fires. The first case of avian flu among ostriches in Canada has been detected at a farm in southeastern BC. Now, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has ordered all the birds to be killed. But as Sarab Sandhu reports, the owner is pleading with officials to spare her herd.
Ostriches at this Central Kootenays farm are at risk of being culled.
We don't want to believe that this is the end.
Katie Pesitny says these ostriches have been a big part of her life for decades. Her family takes care of them every day.
In the last 35 years, it's been the journey of our whole family.
Pesitny says right after Christmas, some of her birds started showing cold and flu symptoms. Days later, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency tested the birds, in which Pesitny says 2 tested positive for avian flu.
They had taken a couple swabs from 2 deceased birds out of our 400 plus animals. And at that time, the test came back positive. So right away, we as a farm immediately as well put ourselves on strict quarantine measures.
The farm has now been ordered by CFIA to cull the entire herd before February 1st.
It's a mass massacre of animals, and it'd be heartbreaking to see this happen.
It comes just 3 years after same herd of ostriches narrowly escaped a wildfire in BC's West Kootenays. In a statement, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency says its avian influenza policy includes depopulation to avoid further spread of the disease. But Pesitny claims some of her birds are building immunity and showing resistance to the avian flu and should not be killed.
In your natural avian flu state, an animal gets sick, and the natural state of the course of the avian flu is to pass away really quickly. Our animals were they'd get kind of sick. We've lost some, but then some sick ones were getting healthy right away again.
She is pleading with the CFIA to reverse their decision, but for now hopes to come up with a solution to extend the deadline. So far, more than 15 million birds in Canada have been affected by avian influenza. In BC, more than 7 million birds have been culled since the spring of 2022. But this is the first case of avian flu detected among ostriches in Canada since the virus was discovered in 2021. Sarab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
A homeowner and contractor in BC's southern interior are learning a hard, costly lesson after participating in the Clean BC rebate program aimed at electrifying heating systems in homes. To be eligible, the program requires the gas heating system to be completely removed, something the homeowner didn't know until after the work was done. Corey Bullock has more.
Back in 2023, Nelson resident Heather Kazan thought she would take advantage of a provincial program to help assist with the cost of an energy retrofit.
The house is built in 1935. It's fairly old, but it has had lots of renovations except for the heating system.
Kazan hired a local plumbing and heating company to do the work. Company owner Micah Pilipetian says they found what they thought was asbestos wrap on the side of the furnace. He says they assumed it would be okay to just dismantle the system so as not to disturb the hazardous material, since his company doesn't specialize in remedial work.
It was a gas furnace, so they removed the gas meter. We removed the gas line going to the furnace. We removed the venting, and we removed all the internal parts. So the gas valve, the combustion burner, everything. So essentially it was just a hollow sheet of metal.
The home is now completely electrified, but Clean BC says the system must be removed completely before it will release the rebate funds. In an email to CBC News, the Ministry of Energy and Climate Solutions, which oversees the Clean BC program, said there are no exceptions, stating that the furnace could be recommissioned and used in the future, or if the house is sold, used by the next owner.
There's no possible way that furnace can be turned on. I don't even think it could be reassembled.
Now, 5 months after the work was completed, both the homeowner and the contractor are still waiting on the rebate. They're both on the hook for the cost of the retrofit, more than $13,000. Plus now the contractor will pay to test, remove and remediate the asbestos, a total of $18,000. Clean BC does offer an $800 health and safety rebate to help pay for remediation-related expenses. But in the meantime, Pilipitian says he feels like a bank, having to front most of the cost himself. Their advice to others?
Read the fine print and make sure that you're prepared for it. It wasn't in my budget to do all of the work that's needed to properly remediate the asbestos and remove the furnace.
I would strongly recommend that that's part of the process for the rebates, as they have to get it tested before contractors go in.
They say it's a cautionary tale for others who may want to make the switch to electric heating. Corey Bullock, CBC News, Cranbrook.
A group of newcomers from Afghanistan say they're struggling to get full driving licenses from ICBC. As Pinky Wong reports, many say the Crown Corporation's licensing policy is unfair.
Our licenses are not big. Our licenses are not big.
These Afghan Canadians are rallying, urging ICBC to recognize their Afghanistan driver's license and driving experience. Ahmad Hamidi has been helping his community, including Abulfaz Nouri, in that process. He says ICBC has deemed around 100 Afghanistan driver's license as fraudulent.
After a week or two, the ICBC rejected. They said that this is a fake license and you have to be charged $20,000, but for this time we will forgive you. And then you have to, in order to prove your the credibility of your license, you have to bring documents from Afghanistan.
Hamidi says Nouri has 14 years of driving experience, but it is not being recognized in BC. He's tried to submit his international driver's license from Afghanistan.
This is official stamp and this is official stamp.
Currently, ICBC has reciprocal licensing agreements with 15 countries that share similar licensing and road safety standards. That means BC residents from those countries can exchange their driver's license for the BC one without additional testing. Applicants from every other country or jurisdiction, including Afghanistan, have to take a knowledge test and prove more than 2 years of non-learner driving experience before they can take a full licensed road test. Erzan's Ibrahimi's wife has 5 years of driving experience but was told she'd have to start with a novice license.
I think that was so unfair. We have 4 kids and I'm the only one working. She has at home. What do you think? She needs appointments. She needs to go to doctors. She needs to do all the homework while I'm in my actual job. So license is very important for everyone.
ICBC says they have reviewed and accepted 72% of Afghanistan licenses to be valid. Of those, 85% are in pursuit of the Class 5 license and the rest have been placed in the Class 7 process.
We have an expert review panel that reviews foreign driver's licenses from Afghanistan and other parts of the world. We don't release details about how the review process works because that would compromise the integrity of the process.
The insurance company says it recognizes the challenges immigrants from Afghanistan face and are working closely with the community to support them. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
StatsCan says BC added more than 14,000 jobs last month, but the increase was driven primarily by part-time employment, with the biggest gains in the healthcare and education sectors.
Generally, when the economy is rolling on very well, we see a lot of full-time employment growth. Here we see a bit more of the part-time, which just suggests that, the economy is not going at full tilt, that we are improving, but there's more room to grow.
While part-time employment is up, data shows the province lost 7,400 full-time jobs in December. It comes as Alberta's job market soars, adding more than 30,000 jobs last month, the most of any province in Canada. A Vancouver developer will pay almost $8 million less in rent to the city's school board after the BC Supreme Court issued a ruling this week on the school-owned Kingsgate Mall property. The property is owned by the Vancouver School Board and leased by developer Beatty. Each year, Beatty was to pay the board a portion of what a tribunal ruled was the land's immediate redevelopment value under the lease terms. In 2022, the tribunal set Beatty's family's annual payment at $9.6 million. But one tribunal member said it should only be $1.6 million. Beatty sued to get the lower amount and won. One city school board trustee, Jennifer Reddy, says the ruling shows the district can't rely on real estate money.
Giving long-term leases and sale like this is really giving away school board property and doesn't allow us to hold it in trust for future generations.
A school district spokesperson says it's considering next steps but had not budgeted for the higher amount. Fisherman Helping Kids with Cancer held its annual herring sale in Steveston today in support of kids undergoing cancer treatment at BC Children's Hospital.
For lots of kids, they're in the hospital for very long periods of time. So these comfort items like iPads, video games, coloring books, anything you can imagine, putting kids together for kids so that they get distracted, they have things to look forward to, and they have things to play with while they're in treatment at Children's Hospital.
Buckets and bags were brimming with freshly caught herring at Richmond's Steveston Harbor today. A 20-pound bag was going for $20 each at the annual Fisherman Helping Kids with Cancer, now in its 14th year. Organizers say the event has raised more than $1 million since it started. Still to come, how hard is it to be a newcomer in this country? CBC News' series, Welcome to Canada, shows the struggles and the successes of those making a new home in the true north. Stay with us. For the most part, newcomers say they are having a positive experience in Canada, but they also report facing unique challenges when it comes to housing. Alexander Silberman looks at this as part of Welcome to Canada, a CBC News series about immigration told by newcomers themselves.
Wow, they have visitor parking.
Vineet and Diksha Jain arrived in Saskatoon from India last year with high hopes for a better life and began searching for a home.
This looks like really spacious.
Yeah, it's spacious
For now,
plus compact.
They saw rising rents, but being new to Canada was the biggest obstacle. With no credit history, references, or jobs, landlords kept saying no.
I was feeling like we should give up and maybe we should go back to our home country.
The long hunt for stable housing held up their path to getting settled in Canada and focusing on finding work in their fields. After 6 months of renting a room, they eventually found a place of their own.
There was always a tension back of our mind that we need to get into some good and bigger accommodation so that we can prioritize and plan our future.
The Gens are among many newcomers to Canada reporting challenges finding housing. In a survey conducted for CBC News, 8 in 10 newcomers say they've had a positive experience settling in Canada, but just more than half say they found a home that is affordable. The cost of rentals continues to grow across Canada, with most units still too expensive for the average renter. The country is rapidly building new apartments like these ones, and that's helping affordability with a record number of new rentals this year. But housing policy experts say construction is still lagging behind demand.
Supply just can't respond quickly enough.
This researcher says an influx of international students and temporary foreign workers created a rapid surge in demand for rentals.
People can get on a plane anywhere in the world this morning and arrive tonight. But we can't get a house on a production line this morning and have it ready for tonight. It takes us 5 or 6 years to get a housing built.
Others say it's a matter of too little housing and argue Canada can't afford to scale back immigration.
But simply saying that we're going to slow the population and therefore solve all of our problems, I think is actually very short-sighted and distracts us from the work that we need to do.
Welcome to our new home, Diksha.
The Gens are glad to finally have a place of their own, but they worry for other newcomers arriving in Canada and say some landlords and scammers are taking advantage of their situations. Alexander Silberman, CBC News, Regina.
As we heard earlier this week, former BC Premier Christy Clark says she is, quote, seriously considering a run to replace Justin Trudeau as head of the federal Liberals. Clark says given her experience, she is the right choice to deal with incoming U.S. President Donald Trump.
My strategy for dealing with Donald Trump isn't quite fully baked yet. But so for today, what I will say is, I think what Canadians want at the table is somebody who's a proven leader who knows how to stand up and fight for Canadians. I did that when I was Premier of British Columbia, and I'm not going to bend in the face of American pressure.
Clark made the comments during an interview with CBC Radio's The House and host Catherine Cullen on Friday, her first interview since the Prime Minister announced his plan to step down. Clark is also facing new scrutiny about her previous connections to the federal Conservatives. Meanwhile, Transport and Internal Trade Minister Anita Anand has announced she will not enter the Liberal leadership race and she will not seek re-election to Parliament. In a public statement, Anand says it is the right time to leave and she thanked the Prime Minister for the trust he'd placed in her. Anand's previous portfolio included Defence, the Treasury Board, and Public Services and Procurement. She will continue serving in Cabinet until the next election. Here we have a live shot of a very snowy Whistler Plaza. I'll have your full forecast coming up next.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, it is time now to take a look at our forecast. Let's begin with a quick peek at the current temperatures around the province tonight. Starting up in Fort St. John with a -5, snowier in Kamloops with a -5 overnight, and 3 in Victoria on the island. And heading into tomorrow, a lot of sun in Fort St. John with a high of 2 for tomorrow, 0 in Prince George with snowy conditions. Kamloops, you're also going to see that snow with a high of 7 for tomorrow. And on the island, 6 and rainy in Victoria and 7 in Tofino. Here in Metro Vancouver, a lot of sun and cloud in the week ahead. Mix of sun and cloud for our Sunday and a high of 6. And that cloud is going to clear away for Monday with a high of 4. That is your late news for Saturday, January 11th. Thanks so much for watching. For news on the go at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/BC. We'll see you tomorrow.